Welcome, everyone, to the Bridge Church podcast. This is technically episode 0. We're going to launch episode 1 as soon as possible, but we wanted to just do a quick intro to the podcast, let everybody know what it's all about. I'm Vince. Probably most of you know that if you attend the Bridge Church. This is Ben. Some of you might not know him, but Ben is our kids pastor. And I've known him actually a long time, longer than most of the staff. We were both at the same church before we came to the Bridge, before you came to the Bridge, before I came to the Bridge.
Yes.
So yeah, we just wanted to tell you a little bit about what the podcast is going to be all about and help you get excited for it. And again, this was actually Ben's idea.
Oh, gosh.
It is true. It is true.
Churches across the country's idea. Okay, how about this? Let's start here. Why a podcast? Why are we even trying to reach people this way? Why is Sunday mornings not enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very committed on Sunday mornings to making sure Sunday mornings are accessible to the person who's showing up at church for the very first time.
Okay.
Every single week, we have people who haven't been to church in 10 years or have never been to church before. And we feel like it is God's mandate to us as a church that we make sure what we say from the platform, from the stage, is going to make sense. We want to give every person a chance to say yes to Jesus, but we also want to teach what it looks like to follow Jesus in a way that they will be able to understand week 1. Because of that, there are certain topics and certain also levels of topics or certain kinds of doctrine that we generally don't go deep into on a Sunday morning. We're likely never going to do a sermon series all about the end times. You never say never, but if somebody works for 6 months or a year to convince one of their coworkers to show up with them at church, and then that Sunday morning I'm giving an in-depth discussion of premillennialism or postmillennialism or amillennialism.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's one of the things we'll maybe talk about. That becomes, we destroy the work that person did for 6 months or a year or multiple years getting that person to show up at church. And we believe that's a biblical paradigm, that in the largest group, the priority should be on the person farthest from God. Paul talked about this. There was a group of people called the Corinthians who had get-togethers, services, really the equivalent of a Sunday morning service that were not geared toward outsiders. They were geared towards insiders. And because of that, outsiders would come in and get confused and leave and never get connected. And Paul literally told them to restructure the way that they did their large group gatherings so that that outsider person would have a chance to understand clearly what Christianity is all about. So we believe that's not a preference thing, that's not a strategy thing. We believe that's a biblical thing, is that the person who doesn't know Jesus is the first priority when we're all together on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
However, for the people who just come to church on Sunday mornings, or maybe just come to church on Sunday mornings for a year, there's lots of Christian doctrine, Christian theology that they will just never hear at the Bridge. Now, for the last 5 years of being the pastor of the Bridge, I know now, wrongly assumed that people would go find those resources on their own because there are tons of them.
Yes.
Books, podcasts, sermons from other churches, all sorts of stuff that people can go find on their own to learn those deeper doctrinal things. But we've learned that a lot of people are not sure what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, who do we trust? Like, there's so many things that you might search something and see 400,000 views, but me and Vince would never recommend that channel for what you're trying to search for.
100%. So people showing up here in person, they at least on some level trust the doctrine of this church, the teaching of this church, the theology of this church. And so a lot of people say, hey, we want to learn more on deeper level topics from the leaders of our church. So that's really the heart of this podcast, is to help people at the Bridge learn deeper doctrine, theology, teaching that we're not going to do on a Sunday morning, but we do think it is really important for the people of our church to know, and we want to have a place for them to receive it. So a couple things. If you have questions you want us to cover, send them in. I've got a list of 10 or 15 things I want to make sure we do, but if you have particular questions, we would love to answer them as best that we can. We don't have a title yet.
No.
We're playing around with going deeper.
Going deeper.
People
House to house.
House to house is another option because Paul said that he taught publicly, but he also taught house to house. And you can only assume, you don't know for sure, but you can only assume that what he taught publicly was probably different than what he taught house to house. So this podcast is, in a way, it's the kind of thing that if I could sit down over dinner with every single person from our church, which is just not possible, but if it was possible, if I could sit down over a meal or over coffee and just talk about some of these more deep aspects of Christianity, these would be the things that we would talk about house to house.
Yeah, kind of those discipleship type of topics, or when people are struggling, they're like, how do I think about this?
Yes.
We're hoping to be able to answer those questions for people. But I want to double click on something you said earlier, is I've been a part of many different churches, as have you, but I have thought to myself, I don't know if I can invite my friends or I can invite people I'm meeting to come to my church because it feels too churchy, too intellectual, too deep, that they're going to come in and not know what's going on. And so that's why I really like the idea of this podcast, is it still allows Sunday mornings to be a place where we can be inviting. We can try to witness to our friends, to our community, to the people in our lives, family, friends, coworkers, but still have a place for us to go deeper, go learn more. Yeah.
100%. So thanks for watching this intro. Hopefully episode 1 will drop a week after whenever this episode drops. We're shooting to record 1 episode a week. We may batch them. We'll maybe do 2 in 1 week and spread them out. But the hopeful rhythm is that these get released once a week. Again, shoot us messages, and we hope that you come along on the journey.
Yeah, this is a bit of a test drive. So we'd love for this to go well, and we'll see if it works well for our church. If it's helpful, if it's not helpful, maybe we'll stop it. But we'll need your feedback. We'll need your comments. We'll need you guys to subscribe. We'll need you guys to do all those regular podcast, YouTube-y things so that we can know if this is gaining traction, if this is helpful for our members at our church, or maybe if it's not, because we don't want to spend time doing something that's not helpful for you guys. But we really do believe that this could be a way to feed you guys to feel like you're getting the answers you're wondering about. You're getting the thoughts from our lead pastor about how should we think about these things in terms of relation to how we do church here at the Bridge.
Yeah, 100%. I said this last Sunday, probably not last from when it's posted, but last Sunday from when we were recording, that this is something we have heard a lot of times. People say, I want deeper teaching, I want deeper theology, I want to learn more, but you never really know how deep that desire is until you put something out there. So it is really an experiment, and if you're excited about it, make sure to watch, make sure to leave a comment, send us a question, and yes, give feedback, because maybe there's a version of it that we can tweak a little bit that will be the most helpful to the people watching. So that's it.
That's it.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.